Yo, what's up, everyone? This is our first ever podcast. SAB, as Mysterio likes to call me.
Mysterio!
Yeah, so we decided to start these podcasts because we felt that it was necessary for us to ramble and talk shit about things that we normally ramble and talk shit about on a daily basis whenever I decide to call Mysterio or he decides to call me, and we just go on and off about all these things regarding the industry and dance music in general, right, Mysterio?
Yeah, I like how you say it's necessary. There's nothing necessary about it. But, we just wanted to do it, so here we are.
So, what we want to also start doing with these podcasts is we want to help artists that are aspiring producers or DJs, and an interesting way of doing that is by having them submit music to our label Fight Free, which we're going to relaunch in 2 weeks. And our first release is going to be our boy Sanity. He's putting out his EP.
Shout out Sanity.
His
EP
EP.
Sanity.
His EP.
Shout out Critty too while we're at it.
Yes. He's putting out his EP Session with us on Fight Free, so that's going to be the first release that's going to relaunch the label. And we just want you guys to submit whatever releases you think would fit the label. And what we're going to do after this podcast is we're going to actually review the music you submit to the label live on the podcast. So we'll give you our live feedback, and it'll also help us fill up the space time for the podcast because we'll have something else to talk about and do.
Not that we need to fill up the time, because between me and you, bullshitting, we both got the gift of the gab.
Yeah, we can go on for hours.
We can go on for hours.
These podcasts are going to be 50 minutes.
That's going to be the challenge.
That's the challenge, yeah.
Keeping us down to 50 minutes.
So yeah,
but yeah, let's get into this.
Yeah, feel free. We are getting into it, Mysterio. Feel free to submit your music to fightclvbpromo@gmail.com. We'll have the link in the description. And like I said, we'll review your music. We'll listen to it and we'll review it live.
3 times.
Yes, I'm just
go fuck yourself.
re-emphasizing the fact that we're going to do that live on the podcast.
They know.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, so okay. What's the first topic, Mysterio? What do you want to talk about?
I think we gotta talk about the Zedd and A-Trak beef.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's kind of been taking over the EDM runways.
Yeah, let's open up with the diciest topic this week.
Let's get into it.
Yeah.
Let's fill them in for those that don't know. It all started with a tweet from Zedd. What was the tweet exactly? I wish we had like an intern here.
I actually
pulling it up.
Well, I'll be the intern for now.
Be the intern
until we're cool enough to actually have real interns.
Sure.
I actually took a screenshot of the said tweet. And
it's funny when you said said tweet, it sounded like Zedd tweet.
Of course, that was a play on his name.
Yeah. Oh, nice, smart.
So I'm a smart guy sometimes, Mysterio. Sometimes I give myself some credit.
You got a gift, my friend. Yes, you do.
So
yes, you do.
Zedd, I don't have the. Zedd deleted his tweets as of today, which is October 3rd, 2018. So Zedd basically wrote a tweet essentially saying, I don't understand the track Mo Bamba by Sheck West. So for those of you that have never heard of the track, Mo Bamba is this really interesting trap song that's like pretty innovative in the sense that the vocalist is harmonizing with the bass line, which is kind of unheard of in trap. And it's also, it has this punk rock energy to it. And my boy Rothero actually pointed this out on Twitter. And I actually mentioned this to you when we spoke earlier that day. I said, damn, Mysterio, I feel like this form of trap is becoming like the new punk rock for hip hop. There's never really been anything like that in hip hop.
Yeah.
So the reason Zedd tweeted that is because we've known Zedd for many years, and when we were on tour with him for the first ever Mothership tour with Skrillex and Porter Robinson, Mysterio was actually opening up. For those of you that don't know, he was opening up that tour. It was Mysterio, Zedd, Porter, then Skrillex, and you know, we used to hang out. At the time, I was doing video stuff for Skrillex, and I remember we would just hang out on the tour bus, and we would just talk about different topics, right, Mysterio? And one of the topics one time was about hip hop, and Skrillex was just playing old school Dr. Dre for Zedd, and I think it was the Chronic album. I'm not sure, but he was just playing hip hop for Zedd, and Zedd just didn't really get it. And I mean, why don't you give him a background on who Zedd is, Mysterio?
Also, there was a lot of times where we would just, especially in those days, Sonny would freestyle, I would start freestyle. We have little sipes. Zedd just doesn't. His sensibilities don't adhere to that. So it totally made sense to me when I saw that tweet. It's not that he's a hater. It's not anything like that. His sensibilities just don't adhere to those sounds. And the other thing to understand about Zedd is a classically trained musician. So he's kind of going to be a snob about music because he's classically trained. Everything is like so exact and precise. And you said it best when you said that this track is like a punk rock aesthetic. Guess what? Zedd wouldn't like punk rock. Punk rock is not correct, and it's not meant to be correct. It's meant to be dirty, messy, and he just doesn't. It doesn't jive with him. It doesn't make sense to his brain. I don't even think his brain can really wrap around those sounds.
True.
So when I saw him put that tweet up, it didn't surprise me at all. I'm like, yeah, this isn't something that Zedd would ever fuck with. But then me and you started discussing why would Zedd even feel the need to discuss that track, and you brought up a good point to me, and you said most likely a label head or somebody asked Zedd to make a track like that, or they suggested that Zedd step out of his comfort zone and do a track with that kind of artist, especially because that's what's popping now.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think you're right, and I think that maybe stemmed Zedd's frustration. He's like, I don't understand this music. I can't really see myself making this kind of track and doing justice to it because this just isn't my sound.
Yeah.
And I think that frustration is what led to the tweet.
Yeah, and then A-Trak chimed in on the tweet, and A-Trak is also a hip hop head, and I mean we're Mysterio and I we're totally immersed in the hip hop culture. I'm from Queens. I don't, Mysterio, where are you from again?
I don't know if I'm from parts unknown, but I don't know if there's a lot of people that are listening now that realize A-Trak comes from the hip hop community.
Yeah.
His brother Dave One, he produced Cult Leader.
Dave One from Chromeo, for those of you that don't know.
He produced Cult Leader for Nonfiction, hip hop group.
Underground hip hop group from the early 2000s.
Exactly. So, they come from that world.
Yeah, those cats come from hip hop,
so
underground.
This whole thing made sense to me when I saw Zedd's tweet, and then I saw A-Trak jump in and kind of scold him a little bit. I don't
really feel like he was scolding him.
Not
I think
scold, but maybe school him.
He was trying to educate him. Exactly. He was trying to let him know, like, yo, just because you're not understanding and you're not familiar with the genre doesn't mean you have to, I guess, throw some shade at it, essentially, right? Because that's what he was doing with his tweet. But I mean, I think what A-Trak was really trying to get at was, yo, people bump to this at the clubs, DJs are playing this, people are moving to it. And then Zedd his rebuttal was like, oh yeah, that doesn't make it good. And then A-Trak wrote something to the effect of like, yeah, but we're DJs, aren't we?
Well, that was the thing that Zedd also. Zedd said he more considers himself a producer.
Which is true.
First than a DJ.
Which is true, because Zedd is more of a producer.
But then A-Trak, bounced back and said, yes, but you play shows.
Right.
So, whether you like it or not, you're a DJ.
Yeah, you're classified under the role of a
and when
DJ.
Zedd is on Fallon or any shows, they're not going Zedd the DJ. Or, I mean, they're not going Zedd the producer, right?
Oh, no, yeah, well, Zedd, when he's been on those shows, he's shown up playing the piano.
But what do they refer to him as? DJ producer.
Just Zedd, they don't really give him a title. They don't really give anyone a title whenever they perform on a show. They don't really give you a title. They don't say like J Balvin, the reggaeton singer. They just say J Balvin, whatever.
But it just is what it is. They have like the top DJs, and Zedd's gonna, he's considered a DJ.
Correct.
If he's in DJ Mag, like it just is what it is. Like.
True. Yeah. He's known. Yeah, he's essentially known for being a DJ.
Sure.
That's true.
Sure.
Yeah, just like whenever I talk to anyone in my life, they refer to me as a DJ.
Sure.
And I tell them, I'm a producer, dog. And they're like, oh, yeah, but you travel the world and you play music, no? I'm like, yeah, but I sit at home most of the time in the studio making music.
Sure.
Like, I'm not out there professionally learning how to cut or do routines. You feel me? Like,
so
that's a real DJ's job.
More a producer because so much time you spend honing that craft.
100%, Mysterio. Like, if you put me in a room with Rob Swift, who's the homie from Queens, who was 1/3 of Executioners, one of the greatest turntablist groups of all time. Like, you put me in a room with Rob Swift, I'm gonna look like a total amateur. People are gonna say, like, how the hell do you make money touring the world DJing when you can't even cut like Swift does? But you can't categorize us because we're like two completely different artists. Two completely different artistries. Swift is known for being a DJ. He cuts. He's a turntablist, and that's a whole nother skill and a whole nother science onto itself. So yeah, definitely, man. I consider myself more of a producer than I do a DJ. Any time of the day. But I think, yeah, like you said, A-Trak was approaching it more from also a hip hop perspective because he's a hip hop head. So he was just basically telling Zedd, like, I think he even said in one of the tweets, I'll take you to one of the clubs and show you how people react to this song and this type of music.
I wish I would go down. I wish Zedd took him up on that. That would be great.
That would be fantastic. That would be fantastic.
The other thing here, though, is I think everybody was in the right. I think that Zedd totally had the right to say that. In this day and age, I wouldn't unless you're ready to have that kind of feedback, that kind of the internet's going to get on you.
Yeah, you're gonna receive backlash.
You have to be ready for that. So if you're ready for that, that's fine. So Zedd was completely, that's fine that he made the tweet, and it's awesome and fine that Zedd stepped up and defended
his argument
and made his argument. What I don't like is that Zedd deleted the tweet because, like I said, it was fair game.
True.
Zedd represented himself. A-Trak represented himself. Dialogue is so important.
Absolutely.
I'll quote Kanye, we need dialogue, not diatribe. And maybe Zedd started off on a diatribe and A-Trak turned it into a dialogue, and Zedd continued the dialogue. Everybody spoke, no one looked bad to me, and now it's gone, and now it's
like it never happened.
What's the point of it being deleted? Like, but I want people to be able to go back
100%.
Look at that.
And you know what I've been noticing is people are now starting to bully Zedd. I'm not gonna mention names, but there are some Twitter handles,
that's that bullshit,
producers and labels that are like bullying the guy now. Yeah. They're like, oh yeah, just because you're an EDM producer and you take 2 weeks EQing a snare, it doesn't mean that you know about music, or that your songs slap. Like,
well, whoever said that doesn't know about Zedd.
No, I mean, whoever said that is obviously a hip hop producer, which again, it's gonna go unmentioned.
Sure. I mean, Zedd plays musical instruments.
I think the argument also becomes hip hop people. There's this misconception that hip hop / trap producers, whatever, are not musically adept. Like they have no musical knowledge. And that's a misconception because we personally know a lot of hip hop producers that are classically trained, and they just happen to make hip hop. There's nothing wrong with that. Just because you're classically trained doesn't mean you have to go and adhere to some complex form of music. You can still make hip hop and be musically, have a strong knowledge of music. Doesn't mean you have to. You get what I'm saying? It's complicated,
sure.
But. Yeah, I think there's just this misconception, and that's not to say that a lot of trap producers are all musically, knowledgeable when it comes to production. There are a lot of trap producers out there that suck, and they don't know they don't even know how to put a song in key. They're just throwing everything on there and just seeing whatever makes sense, whatever hits, whatever slaps, like they say in these streets. You feel me?
Yeah. But you touched on something, and you touched on the lynch mob, the internet getting on Zedd and bullying him. That ain't gonna solve nothing. You know, that's just, and that's what kind of probably made him take the tweet down.
Of course.
And you know,
it's sad.
Not to go on a tangent, but
not to go on a tangent.
Gotta have more dialogues. And
exactly.
There's nothing wrong with people representing their beliefs and throwing them out there.
Sure. And another thing.
But Zedd deleting the tweet shows that Zedd wasn't ready for the feedback.
Right.
So if you're not ready for it, you absolutely cannot make tweets like that. You cannot make tweets that are lambasting somebody else's style or music if you're not ready to.
I agree.
To accept the consequences.
I don't think Zedd was ready. But given the fact and the reason why we wanted to open up our first podcast with this subject is because we know Zedd personally, and we know for a fact that he's not from the hip-hop culture. Like, he's not even from the United States. He grew up in Germany. And I mean, that just goes to show you, just to give you a little background,
I mean,
that Zedd is not familiar with
could you name me a
hip-hop
German
culture.
rapper? Is Die Antwoord, are they German?
No, they're from South Africa, I believe.
I
can't really say I know any German rappers, but if anyone does, please put it in the comments.
I know Korean rappers. I know Japanese rappers.
I don't really know any
I know
German.
English. No, but I mean, like, through the years, I've heard these.
You're right.
I've heard English rap. I've even heard Greek rap. I've heard Italian
I'm
rap.
sure there's German rap, though. There has to be. There's, like, rap in every language, I believe. There has to be.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I just feel like maybe rap just hasn't culturally, like, taken up over there in Germany the way it has in other parts of the world.
It's possible, or maybe where Zedd lived, maybe Zedd just wasn't exposed to hip-hop. So when he came to the United States, that was around the time that we met him, he just wasn't feeling it. To put it so mildly, like, he just wasn't feeling it. It wasn't speaking to him as an artist. So.
Yeah, and I saw some comments like, "Oh, Zedd's racist," and I'm like, "What?"
I saw that. Yeah.
Would you racist because a certain sound doesn't adhere to you?
That's just nonsense, man.
That's nonsense. He's allowed to not like it.
Yeah. I just and going to not to like delve in deeper into the whole racism thing, but knowing Zedd personally, like Zedd first of all, Zedd's not racist. Secondly, Zedd is not. He also doesn't like other genres that are not just urban.
He's extremely picky.
He's a picky person. Yeah, he likes complex music that's very layered, that has a lot of chord progression, and there are a lot of genres that don't have that. So, yeah. Not to sound like we're being completely biased because we know the guy and he's our friend, but we're just stating facts. I mean, this is something
that Fight Club, man, we speak the fucking truth.
Yeah, man. We're not trying to take sides here or anything. And
what I will say is, so we spent a lot of time with him on his come up. His first trip to the U.S., we were with him in Miami. I shared a bed with the guy. We gave each other hand jobs under the covers.
Oh, don't say that.
Oh yeah, we promised we wouldn't. I signed something. Joking. I'm joking. As if he's gonna shut this whole podcast down for that one line. No, I'm kidding. But we spent a lot of time with him, and one thing I know about Zedd is he really enjoyed the chase, getting to the top. I remember he'd wake up and he'd check Beatport at the time, right?
Yeah.
He'd check Beatport to see where his numbers were at, and he was so hungry, and to get to the top, and that was the chase. And now we're looking at a guy who's at the top of the mountain. The Middle was one of the biggest songs of the year. So the guy's on the radio, big things. My point in bringing this up is he is no longer in the chase. So maybe he's just bored. Maybe that tweet he didn't even think twice. He was just like, I'm not crazy about the song. Let me throw out this tweet. I don't even think he thought too deeply into it. I don't think that he thought it was gonna become a big thing.
Not to get existentialist here, but if you really think about it, maybe subconsciously, Zedd actually likes the song. Maybe he feels like, wow, damn, this song maybe he just doesn't think he likes it, but it obviously got his attention.
It's in his radar.
And it's in his peripheral, right? And he's
always been that kind of
like,
guy.
oh, okay, this song is odd to me. I don't like it. This is stupid. It's not intricately produced,
exactly right.
but damn, something about it like speaks to me. It's crazy. I don't know why, but it's in my head so much so that he tweeted about it, right?
Did you remember a couple years ago when we were still hanging out with him a lot? There was a girl put out a song, Happy Sunday or Happy Monday.
Wasn't it Becky G?
I don't think it was
Friday.
Becky.
Wasn't it Friday?
Was that Becky G?
It was Becky G, yeah.
That was her first song she went
Friday,
viral.
yeah.
Okay, so it was Friday. And he did the same thing. I think Zedd, when he hears something that's so, like, not him, or it just boggles his mind. But you're very right in the sense that distaste of something is almost as much of a compliment sometimes. Like they've said like hate and love can be on like the same side of the spectrum.
Yeah, it's like synergy.
Because it's getting your attention. So like, yeah, that track got his attention. I remember he tweeted about that as well. And he was like, what the fuck? How is this track? What's the deal with this?
Yeah.
So you're definitely right that he is that kind of guy. I don't think he liked the track, but it got his attention.
Definitely.
It got his attention.
And there's some sort of attraction there, no?
Which is a compliment to me, because there's nothing worse for an artist than indifference.
Absolutely.
If you're indifferent to the track, then you just don't give a fuck either way.
Absolutely.
But it had enough of an effect on him for the guy to go on Twitter and make the tweet.
100%. And he brought the track more attention because I'm sure his followers weren't familiar with the track prior to him tweeting it. Especially because his fans are like more, obviously they know him for Clarity and songs like that, the Eminem song, whatever.
But you made an interesting point to me yesterday when you said, well, if Zedd doesn't like the track and doesn't want to proliferate more music like that being made, him making that tweet put it on to a lot of people. So he's only helping that artist in that genre.
For sure. Because that has millions of followers, so you know they went and searched the song and or whatever, played it, downloaded it, whatever. So it definitely brought him some publicity. But anyways, shifting gears a little bit, since we're on the topic of people we know in the industry and guys that we both toured with, let's talk about Porter Robinson, because we saw...
That was a great segue.
Something on Reddit.
This guy is the king of the segues.
King of the segues.
Continue.
We saw something on Reddit where it's like a DJ Reddit forum, and somebody made a comment about Porter Robinson going back on tour and DJing again, because now Porter's playing DJ sets. He's at the moment he's not doing the World's setup anymore, the World's tour setup that he's been doing for the last 3 or 4 years, right? Maybe more.
Yeah.
It's been a while, but yeah, we just wanted to touch on that because Porter has every goddamn right to do a DJ set and go back to being a DJ, because we witnessed firsthand that man can throw down. Like, he played some of the heaviest electro house sets back in 2011, 2012. The guy was just, he was young, he was hungry, and what I think the first single he ever released on Beatport that charted to #1 was Say My Name. And that track was an electro house banger. For those of you that don't know, go and listen to that track, Porter Robinson, Say My Name. That was one of the first singles that put him on the map. And Porter was just so dope at playing like hard sets. I kind of want him to go back to being a DJ. I don't understand why he's getting all this flack from fans. Like, oh, Porter must be broke. Porter must not be doing well because he's going back to DJing regular sets. Like, what? I don't get that.
Porter failed at having a different sound. Something I read, Porter failed, and I'm looking at this. I'm like, yo, he did that for 5 years. If he came out and Worlds flopped and then he went back to DJing the next year, sure, you could say he tried something different and failed. But when a motherfucker comes out, puts out World, which is extremely influential to the scene and to bass music, we were talking about it yesterday.
Yeah, he basically helped inspire a lot of future bass producers.
Future bass, for sure.
Because at the time, future bass was popping.
You can make the argument.
It wasn't where it is.
Sure. The future bass, as we know it, wouldn't be what it was without Porter
He allowed a lot of producers to take more risks in their production.
Absolutely.
And deviate from the bangers that were out at the time.
It was just preposterous to me when I was hearing people try to paint the picture of Porter's failing. No, he did it 5 years, and now he wants to return back to the sound that he's famous for. Like, it makes total sense. All artists do that.
Yeah.
You know, like, there's nothing wrong with that. I just laughed when I saw that comment. I was like,
that was funny.
Fucking serious?
That was definitely, yeah. That was interesting to see that.
Yeah.
Also, the Dillon album, Mysterio, I actually sat down last night and listened to the whole thing. I rinsed it twice.
Oh, yeah.
And it definitely, some of the tracks that I said initially I wasn't crazy about definitely grew on me. And overall, I saw a tweet from Frank El Medico, shout outs to La Clinica Records. Frank actually mastered some of the songs on that album, and I saw that Dillon also shouted out Toy Selector on Twitter. Toy Selector is the guy responsible for helping Dillon reach some of these Latin artists that are featured on the album, on a lot of the songs, if not most of the songs. And I don't know, something that Frank wrote on Twitter really spoke to me as a Latino. You know, he started talking about, we need more artists like Dillon in the EDM scene, putting on artists, lesser known Latin artists. And I was like, whoa, like that's true. Like Dillon only really used, I want to say like three really well known artists, including Arcangel, the reggaeton artist, and I'm forgetting the other two, but in reality everyone else on that album is relatively unknown. Mysterio, like Raul, the Colombian vocalist, and even Happy Colors is on there as a feature. He's not producing. I mean, I don't know if he did production on that song, but he's there as a rapper.
Absolutely.
And a lot of the other artists I had never heard of up until then, and I was like, okay, cool, this is dope. Like even Dillon was even putting me on as a Latino. Like I was like learning about these other MCs that I didn't know about.
I think we all make mistakes of when we first hear of an album coming out and we hear little snippets, we make our judgment. And we do it in every genre.
Yeah.
And it's extremely important that we not do that. Wait for the album, rinse it out, listen to it. Because I did the same thing. And I had my judgments early on. When I sat there and listened to it, it's such a full, complete body of work.
Yeah.
Definitely Dillon's best overall complete work. You can't expect the guy to be the same guy he was in 2012.
Yeah.
Coming out the gate, a young guy. He's been in the game now. You know.
But that's the beauty of it, Mysterio. If you listen to the album from beginning to end, it tells a story. It tells the story of his career.
It's his whole career.
Exactly, because you hear influences from when he was starting out in 2011, 2012.
I mean, make no mistake about it. I mean, I realized from I realized it, and then he came out and talked about it, but I made the connection. It's an homage, Keke.
Keke, yeah, I didn't know that.
In English, is what?
Mm-hmm.
People are gonna be like, Mysterio, you're full of shit. I really did figure that out before Dillon said.
Did you? I didn't
I
figure that out.
I did, and then listening to the album, I was like, that's brilliant, like, because this really is like
full circle.
Full circle.
Yeah.
His whole life, scope, musically, and extremely clever. I like that.
A total passion project.
Yes.
That he dedicated to the genre that Dave Nada discovered.
Yeah, and he's coming out and he's tweeted and he was like,
He even shouted out Dave, right?
Yeah. Did he? I hope so.
I think so.
But he did come out. I saw a few tweets and he was like long. Also on Instagram, I think he put out a picture and it was like a long thing.
I saw
talking
that.
about why he wanted to do an album like this.
Yeah.
And that's cool. I hope he didn't feel like he had to do that. I don't know if he's insecure about it. I hope that people aren't coming down on the guy, but they probably are. He's probably getting some negative.
He's probably getting a lot of flack.
To put something like that out there sounded like a response to something.
Definitely.
And that's sad. That sucks.
I know, speaking to some other Moombahton producers, and I know for a fact that some of them had an issue with the album. They just felt like it felt too forced, too contrived, and I could see where they're coming from, but I think this is definitely a subject that we need to talk about in the first podcast. We talk about it all the time. It gets to the point where you have to start distinguishing an artist from their race, and I think people are still looking at Dillon as a Caucasian producer who's making a Latin genre, right? Because Moombahton is, we can argue and say that it's electronic, but it's still Latin based, right? The roots of it are still very Latin, and I think that producers are still seeing that and they're passing judgment based on that. Now, don't get me wrong, a lot of Dillon's fan base is Latin, but there are other Latin producers that feel like they're not getting enough shine, so that diatribe becomes something that I feel is unwarranted. They're not like judging the piece of work, the body of work, based on what it is. They're judging it more on the complexion and color of the guy's skin. It's like, oh, he's white, why is he working with these Latin producers? Like, no, you're white, dog, like you should be making like bangers, like, you know, it doesn't make sense to me. Like,
and it's all semantics, because it's all interpretation. You talk to Dillon. Dillon says, this is me giving back to the community. This album, working with all Latin artists, and like you said, mixing it up, bigger and smaller. My only, if I had to really nitpick and complain, love that he used Happy. I would have liked to see him and Happy do a straight Moomba production. Like, I mean, it's great that Happy rapped in there and he sounded awesome. I hope he produced in there as well. Like, I wanted to hear.
Yeah, that track's a banger.
Sure.
But yeah, you're right. It's trap. It's not. There's.
Yeah, I wanted to hear Happy Dillon Moomba, like it was just
like a rompe tu culo kind of track.
Rompe tu culo. It was such a no-brainer, and it wasn't. It didn't happen. But
yeah.
That's if I'm gonna nitpick. At least he used Happy, you know. The thing is, and this doesn't just fall on Dillon, but Happy, as much as he's somebody that you know, Dillon's, you could say he's putting him on, but is he putting him on? Because they Happy won a Latin Grammy. So I think that the other side's argument, just to like, you know, just to not make everyone look crazy, I think what they're saying is real up-and-comers like the, Ivan Dola, or the, I don't know.
You always mention Ivan Dola.
The capos out there, the guys that have been doing this, the vaqueros, you know, there are guys that are a lot less known. So it becomes a discussion though. Is Dillon Francis supposed to be Santa Claus? Is it his job? Is it really his job?
Well, he is white. Santa is white.
But is it his job to go and put everyone on? And I don't know. I can only speak for myself. If I was in that position, if Fight Club was, me personally, if I was doing an EP like that, absolutely Vaquero would be on there. And, you know, White Gangster.
I mean, just to go off what you're saying, I don't think it's Dillon's responsibility to do anything.
No, it's not.
He can do whatever he wants.
Sure.
But I mean, he earned his right. Like he's holding the he's holding the reins right now to pretty much exercise any form of expression as an artist, right? Like he can do whatever he wants because he's earned the right. Like Dillon is one of the top guys, man. He's got a residency in Vegas. He headlines festivals, so he's earned his right. But
that guy Dillon's gonna be something one day.
I personally knew Dillon. I did his first music video for Idafagos. I don't give a fuck or shit. And that's Dillon and I met on the Mothership tour. And I remember Dillon was just so hardworking, man. Like he would produce even during his downtime. Like he would play the after parties and then he would go straight to his hotel, or he would come on the bus and he would just go straight to Ableton and just make music. The guy's been dedicated and passionate.
He earned his spot.
He definitely did.
No question.
But I think we're touching upon a different subject matter now, where it becomes more about what happens to the Latino producers. You know, I'm Latin myself, you know, and it is an uphill struggle for a lot of Latin producers to make their mark in electronic dance music. It's a struggle. It's difficult. We know a lot of producers from Mexico. Shout out to like Jay Silva, Bros, Lujan. Damn, like you said, mentioned earlier, Ivan Dola. There's so many guys out there. Yeah, I did. There's so many guys out there.
Junkie Kid.
Chris Major, Junkie Kid. Yeah, man, there's so much talent out there.
Dude,
so much talent. And these guys struggle hard body to get into, just to even play in the United States. They can't even get into this fucking country and play.
Jay Silva had trouble getting here.
They have visa issues. I mean, I don't want to get into politics. I never want to delve into politics when we do these podcasts, Mysterio. I don't want to talk about politics. I'm talking about America.
We're talking about politics.
I'm talking about government, politics,
when
government.
It pertains to like the topic.
We're talking about government.
And if it does, then it's fair game.
I don't want to get into any of that stuff, but the problem is these guys are not allowed into this country. They can't even play shows. Now, we're talking about that, right? That's one subject. But what about releases? They're not getting signed to labels. Shout outs to Barong Family for taking a risk on Jay Silva and etc., two Mexican producers. They put out their EP over the summer. Other than that, man, these labels that supposedly adhere to indie sensibilities, they don't really promote a lot of Latin artists. And I feel like Moombahton in general, even though it's on the radio and it's extremely mainstream at this point, I feel like a lot of labels just, they don't want to take the risk on it. They feel like it's just not, I don't know, like it's not worthy enough for them to release. They feel like it's in terms of revenue, it's not gonna do much. I don't know how you feel about it, Mysterio, but I think it's very difficult right now for Latin artists, and it's been difficult for many years for Latin artists to even get on a fucking festival stage. How many Latin artists do we know are on festival stages, let alone a main stage?
Absolutely. And this
off the top of my head, GTA. Look at that. I'm struggling to think of it right now. GTA. Carnage. He's from Guatemala.
And this is where you cannot get around talking about politics, because politics has everything to do with this. It just is what it is. Not playing any kind of cards, and I mean, look.
Fuck the race card, man. Fuck the race card for a minute. It comes down before. I'm sorry to cut you off, Mr. It comes down to promoters not taking a risk on these artists. Do you know how many global-based parties are happening right now across the country that are doing extremely well? There's a lot that we just found out about as well. Like, shout-outs to Ranza over there in LA, who's throwing a very successful Moombahton party. Sac Noel throwing very successful parties. We have 5 minutes left, Mr.
Okay, 5 minute warning.
And shout-outs to Global Bass in Portland. They're throwing their events.
We said that for the last 5 minutes. I would do naked. Are we still doing that?
No, we're not. We're cutting that segment out.
But my mystery meat.
These promoters aren't taking risks on these genres, and there's money to be made, guys. There's a visible revenue stream. It's not invisible. It's there. It's very evident. It's tangible. It's there.
And I completely agree. Risk. And that's who it falls on, the promoters. And so I understand this frustration fans have, and this kind of ties back into what we were talking about earlier, people coming after Dillon and stuff. And you cannot get mad at white artists and appropriating. You gotta get mad at the people who aren't given the opportunities to the other guys. Because there's space for Dillon, and there should also be a space for the capos, these other guys, the rateros, the fight clubs, So it's all around thing, and you're absolutely right. That's a phenomenal point. Phenomenal.
I thought we weren't getting into politics.
Yeah, you're right. But yeah, continue. I'm sorry.
No. You were going on.
Yeah, you made a great point that I just wanted to reiterate. A lot of it falls on the promoters, the label heads. They're the ones signing the talent, because it's all hand in hand.
Yeah.
And
take a risk, guys. Take a risk and promote these artists. Sure. There's nothing. Listen to the music. It moves people. It makes.
But there you go, man. But Dillon, not to keep going back to it, but it completely ties in. Dillon working with these Latin artists, so it's making them realize now. And Dillon putting out a Latin album is like, there is a complete interest for this.
Exactly.
Maybe it will manifest itself into promoters and labels paying more attention to the Latin sounds and EDM. That's all I can hope for.
Exactly. Y'all need to look at it like Dillon's almost paving the way, and let's just hope that the album does extremely well, because if it does, then it'll open the doors for other producers that make that type of music to get their music heard. That's how I'm looking at it.
Absolutely.
I mean, you can sit here and hate all you want, but at the end of the day, really analyze and put things into perspective and see what's going on.
Yeah.
Before you just let hate consume you.
But we do have to wrap this up.
Gotta wrap it up.
In the meantime, the only thing you could do is go hard and try to fucking get this sound out any way you could, and that's exactly what we're doing. Tropical parties. Let's do a quick shout out before we leave.
That's right.
We're starting to throw our own parties here in New York.
Yeah, we're starting our own parties with Dos Flacos and Ozone from Brunch Bounce, and Dos Flacos, they throw their own parties in the Bronx called
Shout out to
Fuego.
Jose from Brunch Bounce.
Yeah, man.
He's helping us out a lot too.
These guys are throwing their own events, and now they're teaming up with us so we can throw our own event, because it's all about solidarity at the end of the day. If you want to start movements, you have to do it as a unit, cohesively. That's just how all movements start. And right now, things are just kind of stale in New York City, and we need to change that. Because right now, the West Coast is murdering shit. They are killing it. Every time we go out there, there's a party like every other fucking day. And they're always packed. Why can't we do that in New York? It's possible. It's feasible.
It's feasible.
Let's do it. But yeah, we got to cut things a little short. Remember, guys, send your music to fightclvbpromo@gmail.com. We're going to put the link in the description. Send us your music. On the next podcast, we will review the demos live. We will play them, and then we will review them. And we will sign your music if it's dope. If it's dope, we'll sign it to Fight Free, our label that we're relaunching in 2 weeks. So send us your demos. Send us your demos, and we will review them. All right, guys. I'm SAV.
I'm Mysterio.
Thank you guys for listening. We will be uploading podcasts every 2 weeks via YouTube, iTunes, and definitely not SoundCloud, because we're going to run out of bandwidth. But all right, guys. Much love. Peace and respect. Everyone take care.
Peace.
21.